Hello everyone, this is 2017 Fruit Tree Roundup. The Fruit Tree Roundup started off on a blog, and it's a way for me to record and keep track of how all the fruit trees are doing here. And if you have a few moments, come check out all the fruit trees that we're growing and how they're doing as of this year, 2017. Behind me are some newer fruit trees, and if you caught the previous video where we toured my brother's backyard garden and orchard, we talked about getting a Pakistani mulberry. The next day we went to the nursery and we picked up this Pakistani mulberry mandarin, and this is not mine, this is a black pearl wax jambu. It's my mom's, and we're holding it here until she can get my brother to come over with a truck and take it home for her. So once again, if you have a few moments, come along and I'll show you what the fruit trees that we have and how they're doing as of now. We'll start off with this blueberry shrub. While technically not a tree, I want to show you guys how it's doing. We transplanted it into the ground earlier this year, and this plant has been doing really well in a container. So we're going to roll the dice, and we're going to hope that it will survive being in the ground. Blueberries are very tricky to grow, so containers are best for them. So far it's showing really good signs. It's produced a lot of healthy green leaves, and we have lots of berries forming. So just the other day I went and netted it up and used PVC pipes that I pretty much can break down at the end of the season. And bird netting is the only way to protect your berries from birds. Here we have the northern mockingbird, and they are very intelligent and they like to get blueberries. So if you notice the angles that are happening, we're just pushing it away because they will come up to the net and pick through the net and get your berries. The mylar ribbon is just for fun. That doesn't work. We just have that for fun. These seed-grown papayas are not very exciting. I don't think they're going to fruit, so we'll try again with a different papaya. We got one that's ripening, so once we go and enjoy the papaya, we'll go and plant some more. So here's our Pakistani mulberry, and if you're interested in how they're propagated, this one looks like it was propagated via air layering. So air layering is this technique where you find a branch on an existing tree, and you score it, put some moss around it, and eventually it'll start to root from that area. Then you cut the branch off and you grow a plant out of it. There's lots of fruit on this one. They had a bunch, and it was hard trying to find one that was nice. Let me show you the fruit that's ripening. Let me come around. Right there. These are, oh, the lighting's just terrible. These are really, really sweet fruit. They're really good for you as well. They're tasty, they're crunchy, they're just good all around. And once again, this one is loaded. So we went through a bunch of them, and my mom found this, and this was without a doubt the best graft that they have. We were able to decide between three. The other two were just, what you can settle on, but this one's really nice because unlike the other ones, it's got a really nice straight branch, and at the top where they cut it off, it's only dried a little bit. The other branches were really starting to dry up a lot, and they look like they could be susceptible to failure. So yeah, check out all the fruit on there. So we just talked about the northern mockingbird a few seconds ago. I'm gonna leave this here and see if the birds go after it. I hope they don't, because to net this is gonna be quite effortful. Took a while to figure out which one to get. This one has a cutting there. I'm gonna go with this one. It's loaded with fruit. May not be a good thing, but it's loaded with fruit. And this was the other consideration. Okay, let's move along and look at our Other new tree, this is a mandarin tree, and it is a standard. So if you'd like to learn more about the differences between standard, semi-dwarf, and dwarf fruit trees, check the link in the video description below, where I have a blog post about the differences. And if you saw my brother's video, he's more into collecting the different types of fruit. I'm a little bit more into succession crops of fruit. So for instance, this particular variety of mandarin orange is both has good qualities, meaning that it's seedless, it's easy to peel, and it's super sweet. But it also fruits. It ripens around March, so we're gonna get a crop in March. The other thing that we're gonna get is the Satsuma mandarin, and that ripens a little bit sooner. So we'll have two crops out of it, and so succession fruiting is something that I'm big into. In addition to it being tasty, you'll see that as we talk about the other fruit as well, fruits along the tour. So here it's got a lot of nice fruit forming, and when selecting the tree, I went and put mulch on here, my own mulch, because it's very dry. So before we talk about the tree some more, since we're down here, I threw in some fertilizer, and then also some organic fertilizer with mycorrhiza spores for the fungus. So on top it's just got this fresh mulch. So selecting the tree, we have this really nice union of here with the graft. This is the rootstock down here, and then this is the scion, which is the tree. And we're going all the way up, and it looks really nice and healthy. There aren't any scars, there aren't any open wounds, there aren't any protruding branches. And then when we move up here, it's got a really nice canopy, I suppose. But in the future, I'm gonna want to prune it so that it opens up and looks like this. So that's how I like fruit trees to look like. So you'll probably notice that with some of the other fruit trees as we move along. And then last thing is that this is a patented variety, patented by the University of California, Riverside. So there's an extra patent fee associated with the cost. Many of these plants are not patented, so there's not extra costs. Okay, moving along, we have this black pearl wax apple. They come in all sorts of different colors: green, white, pink, and this is a very difficult tree to grow. It's very, very difficult. It's very particular about its climate, drainage, so it's not for one that is faint of heart, I guess. I myself probably won't be able to stomach losing a tree this expensive, so I don't try. But my mom really likes the wax apple, and so she's gonna give it a shot. Over there is a reed avocado. It's one of two. This was set in the ground, and we've learned a lot about growing avocados from this guy. I won't go into the details and bore you guys. In a future video, when I just talk about avocados, we'll go into all the details. But some of the things that I've learned is that they're sensitive to sun, and this is a great way to recycle burlap. Instead of getting special paint for the trees, I wrap the branches in burlap so as to give them protection from the sun. It's kind of like lichen. And we're growing this hedge of corn and squash to create shade for it, to protect it from the summer sun. Let's see, we'll swing by this way here and look at this Yuzu tree. This is used in making ponzu sauce. So if you're familiar with ponzu sauce, which is a dipping sauce for shabu shabu, Japanese hot pot, or it could be a dipping sauce for sushi, the albacore tuna and such. And its rind can be used in a condiment called yuzu koshu, which is used in sushi as well. This plant is loaded with fruit this year. Bunch of fruit in here. It's all over. It's amazing how 10 feet can be all the difference in the world. This pot was pushed back closer that way where there's more shade in the morning, and it didn't fruit that much last year, so I moved it out here by 10 feet and it's gotten crazy. It's got a lot of thorns, so it's good plant to grow if you have a space that you don't want anybody across. So we'll move along and look at this tree, which is a Tarocco blood orange, and it's starting to fruit this year. When we got this tree, it was very runty, and it survived the accident of when I went to the back area and trimmed the stuff and some branch came down. It kind of split, and then we put a tourniquet around it and it fused back together. But here's an example of that pruning that I like, the openness. So I won't talk about pruning in this video, just to keep things short. So we may get a Tarocco blood orange, and blood oranges are something that I like to collect, and the Tarocco is one of 3 types of more common blood oranges. They're coming up with all new types of varieties these days. It's amazing. But these are probably the olden varieties. And I can't remember the rootstock. I think this might be a semi-dwarf rootstock here. And over here is a navel orange, and here's another example of that succession growing that I like to do. So this is one that is going to fruit and ripen in December. So you're going to get 1 extra month of oranges. The Washington navel usually ripens in January. So we're going to get an early crop of citrus. So here's some navel oranges. And again, this guy didn't produce because we had our trees back that way just to try to make the yard look nicer. And we didn't get a crop last year. And we're going to move down that way to where that shiny reflective thing is and look at a couple of fruit trees over there. First, we'll look at this red Baron peach, and if you saw my brother's red Baron peach, you'll notice how small mine is, and I think it might be because of the climate and how we don't get as much heat as he does over in Ontario, California. This is a Moro blood orange, the more common blood orange, and one that you'll probably find at farmers markets. It's a standard tree, so it'll grow pretty tall, up to 25 feet. Bear's lime. This is a semi-dwarf, and it's produced a lot of limes for us. In this area, it gets a lot of morning, and then it's going to get late afternoon shade. But the good thing is that it's grown maybe another foot since last time, and once it gets above the fence line here a little bit, it'll get a lot of sun and it'll produce a lot of limes for us. So this is a good size lime tree. Any larger and we're just not going to be able to eat all the fruit. So one of the things that my brother and I like to do is we like to get a huge collection of fruit trees, but then we're going to prune it so that it produces just enough fruit for our needs. Otherwise, if you have a large fruit tree, a lot of it goes to waste, and then you waste this. You're not fully utilizing space where you can grow other stuff. So this is the general size. I would say maybe a 5.5 to 6 foot spread. Okay, we'll go down this way and look at the tiger fig. This is also known as Panache fig, and my only fig tree. I'm not too huge into figs like my brother, and I got this mostly because it has pretty variegated fruit, and on top of that, the bonus is that the fruit is supposed to be really tasty and fragrant and sweet, so that's an added bonus. The stems here are variegated, and then we're starting to see some fruit that's forming over there. And thanks to a Facebook conversation on the Never Enough Dirt page, I learned about Breba and how the Panache fig doesn't produce fruit on old branches. Breba, B-R-E-B-A, I believe the spelling is. So if you're interested in looking that up, it's basically this idea that on new branches, on new growth like this, that's the place where fruit will form. It won't form on the old growth here. So earlier in the year, around January, there were some forming figs on the old growth, and I was super excited, and then it dropped off, and that explains why it dropped off. This might be an example of that here. I don't know if this is a fig that's forming or if this is some kind of new growth that's happening. And then over here we have this Sanguinello blood orange, and you may have seen our harvest of the fruit for the first time, and this was another mail order tree. It's probably 3.5 years old since we've gotten in the mail. We have a lot of fruit now, lots of fruit. I don't want to touch the setting fruit because it can knock it off, so I hope you can see it against the light here. So once again, have it pruned so that it's nice and open on the inside. So density allows for bad things to hide in there, like pests and stuff. And these trees are not treated with any kind of pesticide, neem oil, or anything. I like to pretty much do preventative maintenance or work. And if you have a tree that's healthy, it's going to fend off pests by itself. If there are pests on it, that means that the tree is not very healthy and it needs to be treated with pesticides. So it's best to keep your trees happy, and that way they'll take care of themselves. And one of the ways is to prune it. Next year we'll open this area up and prune it. Maybe in January or fall we'll prune this up. But for now we'll let this grow so that it can capture the sun's energy and send it down to the roots. And you're probably curious about fertilizing. I'll just touch on it real quick. This tree is given a tablespoon of citrus fertilizer, and I'm using something that's not certified organic. It works, and I'm happy with it. As far as the mix, it's got our native clay, and because we're in California, we can get away with this. If you're in an area that has a lot of rain, you're going to want drainage. But in California, we don't get a lot of rain, so I try to build this pot to resemble the soil structure that's beneath our feet. So down here, it's probably a good 3 inches of clay, and then in here, it's going to be a mixture of garden soil, which is mostly mulch, which is mostly this stuff. And in there, there's a little bit of peat moss, and you can use coconut coir if you prefer. So I would say maybe an inch of, or maybe 4 inches of peat moss, and then the rest is 6 to 8 inches of this wood chip that's in there. So that's my mix. And because there's wood chips, when they break down, they absorb nutrients. It's important to fertilize the tree once a month. And don't fertilize when it's blossoming, and don't fertilize when it's setting fruit. So for this one, it usually blossoms around January. So January, February, don't fertilize it. Reduce the watering. Once the fruit sets like this, continue fertilizing. But yeah, we can talk about this in a different video, just to keep this one short. Okay, I think, oh, this is not the last tree. This is the other reed avocado, and it was purchased at the same time as the little runty one that you saw over there. But the difference between this one and that one is that it is grown in the microclimate that young avocado trees like, which is morning sun and afternoon shade. So it's also grown in a container, and once we get fruit, we'll be able to do a how to grow young avocado trees video. So until then, we really have nothing to go by if we do that kind of video today, but we're getting closer to fruit. We see some buds that are happening, that are up there. It's hard to pick out, but there's at the end of my fingertip, there's one bud there, or actually one in a cluster. Once again, we have burlap to protect the branches that are exposed to sun. And there's one other tree, it's out in front, and I'll take you over there to check it out. Okay, this wasn't the tree I had in mind. I almost forgot about this one. This is our apple tree that is grown in our permaculture resort garden laboratory. This is a Fuji apple. It's a very, very young tree. This is the size that they come in when you purchase it from the retail nurseries, and it's going to be a few years before it'll start fruiting. Okay, I'll take you to show you the other tree. Okay, out in front in these large planters, we have this pink lemon tree. It's a variegated lemon, and it's if I remember correctly, a Eureka variety. So basically, your very lemon. It's got these really pretty variegated leaves, and when it sets fruit, the fruit is also variegated. Once it ripens, it turns yellow. We have a lot of fruit sets. This is not going to be a very productive tree. This variety is not a productive tree because the variegated parts of the leaves don't have chlorophyll, and they're not collecting the sun's energy to turn into fruit and such. So it's a nice ornamental tree, and for myself, since I don't use so many lemons, it's going to be a good tree to have in terms of production. Here's another fruit tree that I forgot about. This is a white mulberry tree. This is one that my brother grew from just cuttings, and he sent it over. It grew pretty quickly out here in the front yard where there's a lot of sun, and it got probably a good 10 feet, and I cut it back last fall. And here's all the new growth. It makes these little tiny white mulberries, not as big as the Pakistani one. So these are just fun to eat, but they're just a tease. It doesn't have that many in the tree. So hopefully we get some this year. It looks like it's mature enough to start fruiting. This is a king mandarin. It's known as a stable hybrid, so that means you can grow it from seed. We have a couple here. Last year, one of those swallowtail caterpillars went to town on this, and there was a video that we shot. That was the first time I've ever seen a swallowtail caterpillar. It's the first time I ever knew that citrus were susceptible to caterpillar. This is also known as cam sa in Vietnamese. Cam sa means green orange, and the neat thing about oranges grown in tropical areas is that when they ripen, the rind is green, but then the inside is orange. So it's got a really nice contrast. So these are what, year 2, 3 now? So they're coming along. So missing from this spot are a couple of fruit trees. There was an air-layered kaffir lime that my brother propagated, and I had gone to the East Coast for vacation, and it missed the watering, and it didn't like it, and it didn't make it. My brother's since air-layered another kaffir lime, and hopefully we can have that here. The other thing that's missing is a Gwen Haas avocado. I went super budgety and got a really young tree and learned that young avocado trees are very, very delicate. So if I had to do it all over again, it wouldn't get afternoon sun. It would just get morning sun and afternoon shade like this area here. The Gwen Haas is a compacted fruit tree, so it doesn't get too tall, and its fruit is said to be really nice and rich and velvety, and that's what I like about avocados. And the other thing is that it succession fruits against the reed avocado. The reed, I believe, fruit ripens around October, and the Gwen Haas, I believe, it is before or after. I can't remember. It's a patented variety and one that many nurseries don't carry because I think they don't like to have to pass on the patent fee to their customers, and it's probably one that it's hard for them to sell as a result. So we're looking to get a few more types of citrus trees. The Valencia, we'll probably plant it somewhere over there. A Washington navel, and a Satsuma mandarin. So the Satsuma is for succession fruit. It's going to have fruit before our gold nugget mandarin that's over there. And then the Valencia is a juicing orange. So in the summertime, you'll get a lot of very easy to juice oranges. The Washington navel, I'm preferring to get it as a collectible plant for the citrus. And I'll talk about citrus in a future video if you're interested, and how they're fun to collect. So that's our fruit trees and how they're doing as of April 2017. Thanks for coming along, and I'll see you in the next one. So I've been working really hard to get all the plants out of pots in the backyard just to make things look a little bit more orderly. And I came back with more plants from my brother's backyard. He likes to grow plants from cuttings, and he got a bunch of these roses grown from cuttings. So he says these are about a year old now. So these are really red roses, and I think I know where to put them, probably along the side over there or something. This rosemary, it's going to go back to the front yard. I learned that, I guess my brother also learned that you can't hard prune rosemary. It will die. So last fall I did a hard pruning of everything in the front yard, and the rosemary didn't come back. So we have another rosemary. They're very easy to grow from cuttings. You just snip a piece, stick it in the ground, and grow into a new plant. This is a walnut that he grew from seed. You can see it down there, the shell. And I would be growing this for the hardwood to use as wood to smoke meats and such. So that's our trees and bushes.